on the campus of the university, Peter Diepenbrock.
Well, of course I wrote something up which I'm going to ignore because it seems a little bit stiff in some ways. I'm just impressed everybody's here. I really expect 2 or 3 of us to show up on a rainy day like this and do their obligations. But the fact is, Liz and Randy and Bob have been so devoted over all these years, and I've worked with both Liz and Randy specifically many times, and I'm completely impressed with their devotion, their responsibility, their professionalism, and their friendliness in conducting a really difficult project, or I should say process. And Bob, more specifically, because you're a little more humble, I guess, in the non-political realm, to have done this, to have gotten the 1% or been part of making the 1% law a reality. And I think what's exciting about that is, A, it creates a funding role, a method, I guess you should say, which is hard to defend when money's tight. But I'm going to make some points a little bit later that I think defends that decision. But I think also is the fact that it can be done in our country without a message or requirement for propaganda or some sort of message that, you know, state-funded, you have to say this. I think that's a great thing. So we should all be quite proud that we actually still live in an open society. I want to talk a little bit just about what I thought about when making the piece, because I'm sure people are a little bit curious. And I think one of the more fundamental, I can talk specifically in terms of materials and so on, but the main point I really want to make is that when people talk about the arts, I still kind of think that we're all object-focused. We think, well, an artist makes a work of art, and it's a painting, or it's a sculpture, or it's a play. And I think that's true. But I think what is going to be discovered, I think, and it's going to permeate out into other subject areas, is the process involved in making art. And that's going to be the message that's going to inform a lot of other ways of learning and living. So the point that I kind of want to make with that is that, and how it can apply to student life, I should explain a little bit about the metaphors. I do think that objects can carry visual metaphors. And there's a few all wrapped into one in this shape. It's called Torsion III, which is a part of this series I was already exploring, which talks about the force, if you have sort of equal and opposite opposing forces acting on an object, you get a twist. And in some respects, I think that's representative of what academics and reality there's a wrestling match there between theory and applied reality. And that's part of, the real world and the academic world. So it's tension. The other metaphor is one of passage, or, passage being a threshold. The university experience for most students is something you pass through. You spend some time there, and then you move on. It provides protection. So there's a shelter in this passage. The shelter is sort of what the university also does. It kind of protects you for a number of years to think without the pressures of reality. You can kind of theorize and explore and discover. That's wonderful. And there's a real gift that comes with that, and that's a special time. So that's sort of like why the form. And the RAM reference I was aware of, because when you're doing these competitions, you do everything you possibly can. So I looked at the RAM and the curve and the shape, and I was thinking about it. So I'm glad that was recognized. The other thing, sort of point I wanted to make, again, about this sort of process, which is, in some ways I'm very form-focused, but I'm also probably more process-focused. So when I go about making something, I think about what the shape might be, but more often I start with a use of material and a way of connecting the pieces of material. I tend to be obsessive, I guess, because I like to choose things that I can repeat by the thousands, and they somehow sort of transcend their individual nature and become something bigger than that. It's sort of a reference to cellular growth, the idea of one little thing repeated again and again becomes something that's quite independent of the little part. There's also some practical aspects to that. This is something I could build by myself. I did have one assistant, a young high school senior at the time, who I meant to invite because he deserves a lot of attention, and that he was right there with me. We spent about 600 hours fabricating. He did a lot of the hard work, which was grinding. And so with little effort, by using little pieces, you can make a big object. I didn't have to have very sophisticated equipment. It was pretty much things I could bend and lift by myself. So in some ways, very literally, this is a 4,000-pound sculpture that was made 6 ounces at a time. Where I think that sort of has a message beyond its form to students is the idea that I think one of the greatest challenges in life, and it's not really focused on much, is how to have a vision. What is that? To have a vision, to imagine things that are in your future, and how do you get there? And so the process of developing a vision is a process, and I think it's something you can teach. I think it's something that can be explored and studied. The message in that is that if a student can be encouraged to find vision, a vision for their own life, and then set about saying, well, who am I, and what's my method for getting there? What's comfortable in my own process to get to my vision? Not just a goal, but a vision. Goals, I think, help you get there, and I don't think we all necessarily think holistically about, well, what is the vision for my life, or anyone's life? People talk about vision for a university. So I think that there's a way to use the metaphor of making sculpture to making a life. And so that would be the idea, is that if you spend some time in reflection, in a university context is certainly helpful for that, and then define that vision, and then set about achieving the vision. And it can take your whole lifetime, and it can take a lot of little steps, and it simply needs to take a lot of little steps. It doesn't need to be big steps. They can be a phone call, spending 15 minutes at a particular desk if you're a writer, and write it. If you're a dimensional maker of things, find a spot and go there every day and spend some time making. And I think it can apply to pretty much any profession, is the idea of have the big vision, take the little steps, and just get to work. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'm really quite impressed that there's been such a wonderful turnout, and for having this event, because you know, when you work this hard on something, and I did, that people take a moment to take notice, and so I really appreciate that. Thank you.